please welcome up Simon Roselli. Tee it up.
From The Way of Happiness, 1971, happiness is very simple. It means full of joy, stimulation of truth, beauty, and love, centered in God. The eternal supreme joy must be joy centered in God, not just a trust in your conscience or in artistic feeling. So anyway, before I start, just by a show of hands, who thinks I'm over 65? One, a few, right, okay? Who thinks I'm over 60? Okay, oh yeah, a few, quite a few actually. Right, okay. The reason I ask is I went to Lancaster Gate for a meeting the other day, Wednesday, last week, wasn't it? And on the way home in the tube, I was standing there. Someone stood up for me. And I was like, really? Really? How dare they? No! And it was just like a dagger to my heart. And then I got off at Brixton, and I got on the bus, and I was standing there. Someone stood up for me. And I thought, twice in a day? This is not good. And actually, it kind of reminded me when, I mean, in one sense, I was kind of grateful that they see this old man standing there. But then, on another level, I'm just thinking, no. So I was kind of grateful for them. It was like, I remember thinking about it a bit, and I was thinking, yeah, I remember when I went to the barber one time, and you know when they put the mirror at the back of your head and say, is that good? And I'm looking and thinking, yeah, who's that baldy there? Anyway, life catches up with you. Today's sermon, tee it up. So, by a show of hands, probably less, how many of you thought you were coming today to learn how to play golf? Nobody, right? Okay, because I have some lessons for life out of golf. But I'm not going to teach you how to swing a club, hold a club, what each club does. But actually, there are basic principles in golf that you can then apply to different stages in your life. Apply to your life or to your passion. So I've got a question for you. Divine principle teaches the purpose of joy is what? Sorry, the purpose of life. Now, if that's right. If you can't get the answer, you weren't listening to the question, right? Okay. So yeah, okay. So yeah. It's not going very well, this, is it, really? Okay, so the purpose of life is joy. I can't even read it. No, can I get some glasses? How many of you think that is true? Not many, right? Okay, oh, more, right? Okay. So, what brings you joy? Question for you. I'm not going to do all the work. Question for you. What brings you joy? Resemblance of your son. Okay. Anything else bring you joy? Terry. Sorry, not Terry. Paul. It's not going well, is it? I can't hear. That's not good either. They're talking. Paul. When you feel loved. Right, okay. Next one, behind you. Yes.
When I follow comedy, it brings me joy.
Right, okay. Anything else brings you joy? Anyone? Movies. Music. Right, okay. Franklin, what were you saying? Oh, right, okay, fine. Okay. So actually, there are lots of things that can bring you joy. Kids bring you joy, right? some of the time, right, okay, right, okay? Grandkids bring you lots of joy, lots of the time, because you can hand them back afterwards, right? You can fill them up with E-numbers and then you hand them back. Question is, those things bring you joy. Can you create joy? How? Living for others. Okay, fine. Okay, so I think intent and accomplishment brings joy. So if, for example, you're an artist, right, and you have some picture in your mind that you're going to paint, and you paint that picture, and that intent or that imagination that you had is fulfilled on that paper, what do you feel? Joy, right, okay? If you're a sculpture and you think, I'm going to mold this lump of clay into this, into this sculpture, and you fulfill it according to your imagination or your intent, what does that bring you? Joy. Reality is, when we make that painting or that picture, it doesn't quite come out as we intended, yeah? And sometimes it's way off. I mean, just way off. How do you feel when it's way off? Disappointment, right? Or frustration. Actually, generally, we get a lot of frustration. So if it doesn't come out well, and it's very different to how you saw it in your mind, yeah, we feel disappointment and frustration. Golf is like that. You stand there and you think, well, I'm here, and I'm going to hit that ball really high, and it's going to land on the green there, just about there, and then it's going to roll into the hole like that. And you set up, and you picture it in your mind, and you have a lot of time to think about it, right? And you work it all out, and then you stand and you swing and everything, and then it goes in the water, right, okay? Or it goes in the bushes, or it goes off right, or it goes off left, or it goes in the bunker. You feel complete frustration. But when it actually comes off, and it goes as you imagined, you feel complete joy, right? So actually, a round of golf is about 4 hours, which is about how long my sermon's going to be today, right, okay? So, no, okay, right, okay. So, in that round, there's complete joy and complete frustration. It's up and down, up and down, up and down like that. And actually, if you play a whole round and you only maybe hit 2 shots according to your intent, you still remember those 2 shots when you go home. And you think about them and you think, yeah, I can still do it. You kind of cling on to this hope. And you think those are the 2 shots that you remember. You don't really remember all the other 100 shots that went beforehand. So like I say, you hope that you can actually string those shots together and that next time it will be better. So in this movement, we talk a lot about mind-body unity. And when our mind and body are completely united, actually, we tend to generally feel joy. So we need to kind of create more joy in our lives. We need to feel more joy in our lives. That is the purpose of our life, okay? So, second lesson, correct setup and good technique. So there are tried and tested techniques for golf, just as there are for all sports, for cricket, for snooker. Anyone play snooker here? Or tried, right, okay? So, when you play, generally, you're kind of thinking, oh, I'm going to hit the red ball in, and then hopefully I'll be able to pot a colour afterwards. But a professional is thinking like 10 shots ahead. They're not just thinking 1, 2, they're thinking that, to 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 that, and they're thinking about 10 shots ahead. So actually, like I say, if you've ever played a sport on any level, you can really appreciate how good those professionals are and the skill that it takes them to get there. So in golf, yeah, there's the stance, there's the grip, there's the aim, there's the swing. You try and keep your left arm as straight as possible. You're pivoting your body. So there are all these like tried and tested techniques. And some people have a really, really beautiful technique. You look at them and you think that is poetry in motion. Everything is as it should be. And some people have a really ugly swing. I mean, it's just like, they look like an axeman, right, okay, on the golf course. But the point is, even if you look like the axeman, you can still be very effective at what you do. So there was one golfer called, anyone play golf here? You play golf? No, I'm talking to Russell. Right, okay? You do? Right. What's your handicap, Russell? A bit. Okay, right, okay. Right, okay, fine. Right, okay. So, anyway, if you follow golf a little bit, there was this golfer called John Daly, and he looked more like a darts player, right, okay? He was kind of like long hair and a big belly, and he was kind of like a wild child, and he had a really ugly swing. But somehow he made it effective for him. And actually, he won a couple of majors. And I joined a club recently, just near me, and I met someone there, and he's about 60 now. And he was telling me how he got into golf. And basically, when he was 50 years old, he went downstairs for, like it was his birthday, and there was this box on the kitchen table, and he thought, oh, my wife's been nice, she's bought me a present. And so he opened it, and it was a set of golf clubs. And he thought, what the heck? I've never played golf in my life. I'm not interested in golf. I don't like golf. Why has she bought me these? And he just threw them in the cupboard under the stairs. Anyway, about 6 weeks later, he was doing some job, working somewhere, and he met these two young lads, and they were saying, oh, we're trying to get into golf, and we're trying to practice, and we're going to go to the driving range, and then afterwards we're going to go to a golf course. Anyway, he went to a golf course, right, with them. And I think, normally, if you don't know anything about golf, generally you want to, a professional shooting 72 shots for 18 holes, right? Anyway, he went round in 178, right? Which is over double, right, of what you're meant to do. Anyway, he thought, that's not too bad. I don't know how to swing it. I don't know how to start. Anyway, the next time he went round in 160, and then slowly got it down to 150, 140, 30. Now, he's the best player in the club. And he's never had a lesson, right? So it doesn't matter where you start, you can make it effective for you. And the key to, a good shot is actually having the right setup, the right technique, and actually you can apply this to many things in life. It's actually how you start off a process, right? If you start off on the right foot, then generally you end up in the right place. In golf, if you're trying to get up there and you're like 1 degree off, it's going to end up there. If you're 5 degrees off, it's going to go there. So you need to get the setup right? And like I say, the further you are off at the beginning, the further you're going to end up in a completely different place. These days, in business, it's called best practice, right? So actually, you don't actually have to start from scratch. You can actually, if you look it out and research, you can find that someone has probably done that process already somewhere. And therefore, you don't have to start from scratch. And you can learn from their mistakes. You can learn from their successes. You can find out what worked, what didn't. And you can shorten the process. And actually, recently, we had a property meeting in Lancaster Gate. And I was on my way back, and I got all these comments. And afterwards, in Scotland, they've got a new peace embassy. And they haven't really done much in the way of advertising or marketing it. And anyway, is it Anne? Yeah, Anne. She put up this thing, well, where do I start? And then Tim immediately wrote, well, actually, if you put on Halls Hire, Cyclex, free index, and he gave her a whole list, right, of where to start, And she was like, already that's best practice, right? She doesn't have to start from the beginning. So setup and good technique, if you're going to start something, make sure that you get the process right in the beginning, okay? Next thing is you have to practice a lot, right, in anything. If you want to become good at something, you really need to put the time in. So I remember when I was young, younger, I should say, right, okay? Right, okay? It wasn't actually that long ago, it was about 10 years ago. And I went to see my son perform in a choir. Actually, I think they just made him go in the choir so that everyone had to kind of turn up and be in it and watch it. But on the stage, then they had some proper serious musicians there. And they had this 14-year-old violinist on this stage it was on the embankment in the it's not the Opera House, is it? The Royal Festival Halls. Anyway, so this guy was standing there, and then they had some guy come out the wings with a Stradivarius violin, and they brought it on like this, all the way, and they put it in his hands, and this 14-year-old boy played it, and I'm not musical, right? But even I could understand how good that was. And actually the hairs started to stand on my, on my arm. And I was like, wow, that is really good. And as soon as he finished, this guy came on again, took it off him. He wasn't allowed to do anything, right? And then took it off and took it away. And there was also this, there was this Bulgarian, it was like a xylophone, right? But it was a huge xylophone. It was like the whole of this stage. And again, when he played it, I could really appreciate, wow, that is really good. And again, like sometimes you go somewhere and you see something and you think, wow, they've got so much talent. But actually, it didn't just happen, did it? He didn't get to being where he was at 14, being able to play that violin by just turning up on the day, right? He was obviously made to practice. And probably he started at the age of 5, probably by some slightly pushy parents, right? Okay? And he was made to practice until the cows come home. So if you want to become good at something, you need to put the time in, right? Kenneth, is he here? Yeah. Okay, so Kenneth is much better than me at cards, right? And, like doing moves with cards. Because he will sit and he will practice for hours. Just one move, one move, one move, one move, one move. And then it just becomes second nature. It becomes kind of completely fluent. And you don't have to think about it anymore. And actually you can deal then with the person not worrying about what your hands are doing. Because your hands, it's called muscle memory, right? And like I say, like Eddie Cooper, he does like football repetitions again and again and again. And it becomes second nature to him, right? And he doesn't have to think about it. And if you don't do it for a while, you forget it, right? You lose that muscle memory. And I remember after the lockdown, and I was doing shows on Zoom in a lockdown, and I was doing certain tricks, and then I went out into the real world, and I was halfway, and I thought, I've done that trick 1,000 times, and then, we're doing this trick, and I got there, I don't need to practice it. And then suddenly, halfway through the trick, I'm like, what happens next? I know what the ending is, but what is the next bit to get to the ending? And I was like, and I just couldn't think of it. I had lost it. And then I just went to the ending, and they didn't notice. They wouldn't notice. But I noticed, right? And all the way home, I was thinking, what was it that I couldn't remember? I think it's getting old. But anyway, if you don't practice, you lose it, okay? So you see the end result, but you don't see the hours and hours that went into becoming that good. Anyone juggle here? Yeah, you juggle a bit. Yeah, because your uncle juggles, right? Okay. How many things can you juggle with? 4, right? Okay. Do you know how long it takes to go from 4 to? Can you juggle well with 4? Not bad. Okay. So if you wanted to become not bad with 5, do you know how long it would take you? Yeah, it takes 2 years, right? 2 years of practice to go from 4 to 5, because it's a different technique, isn't it? It's like 2 is, and then it's like 3 and 2. So it's very difficult, and you need to practice for roughly 2 years to go from 4 to 5. So golf is something also that you need to practice. If you've got a habit and it's not good, they say it takes 10,000 shots to change it, right? And that's what those professionals do. They're out there and they practice. They're hitting balls for like 2 hours before they go out, and then 2 hours after they come back, right? And they practice a lot. And like I say, it's muscle memory. So like I say, even when you want to do good habits, right? How easy, if you want to do a good habit, is that easy just to take place? No, it's really difficult, isn't it? It takes a lot of practice. I think I should do, Russell, your younger self has arrived. Right, okay, that's all right, okay. Welcome, right, okay. Do you need something? Like a watch? Okay, fine, okay. So yeah, if you want to, I think I do back exercises, right? And it's a good habit for me, right? And you do them, don't you too, right? Okay? And you've done them for so long, it's second nature to you. Right, now, and it's working, right? Okay? For me, I still have to make the effort to do it, and then I don't do it for a few days, and then I try again, and I do it again. So yeah, if you really want to become good at something, it takes practice, right? Until it becomes natural. quieten the mind, right? So there's also a saying, be here now, right? Be in the present. Sometimes our mind is all over the place, right? And anyone do meditation here? A few people, right? Okay, when you're doing meditation, sometimes in the middle of that meditation, you're like, you get on a thought train, don't you? And then you're like in a completely different place. And you think, how did I get here, right? And golf is the same. You actually, or any sport, before you actually get in, play the shot, you need to clear the mind, okay? So if you overthink it, then it can be the worst result possible. So if you're like playing tennis, and you're thinking like, the ball is coming over the net, and you're thinking, shall I really like whip it, or shall I do a drop shot? Whip it or drop shot. And eventually you overthink it, and eventually into the net, right? And actually, it's because you didn't quieten the mind, and you get all these things in the head, whirling around, going, do this, do that, and then sometimes it's the worst result. So like I say, in golf, they play for obscene amounts of money now, right? Like one tournament, maybe 8 million, right? For if you win that, 8 million prize money, right? Okay? And so sometimes it comes down to the last hole between two people, and then there's maybe that much of a putt to get it from there into the hole. And all you've got to do is roll it into the hole, right? And the difference in prize money will be about $500,000 for that much, right? Okay? That's when the pressure starts, right? And you go, should I go left? Should I go right? Should I do this? Should I do that? And all these things start going off in your head. And it's the same with penalties, isn't it? So if you had to take a penalty to win the World Cup, right? You've hit that penalty 1,000,000 times in practice, right? In your backyard, in practice. But it's to win the World Cup, right? For your country, right? And all these things start going through your mind. Which way will the goalie go? I went right last time, but should I go left this time? Should I wait for him to move? Shall I put my laces through it? Shall I go top left, top right? Shall I do a panenka, right? Okay? All of these things start going through your mind. And actually, that can be the worst thing, right? So like I say, you need to quieten the mind. Go back to that backyard, where there's not quite so much pressure on it. And people that are really good, they're the ones that can get rid of those voices in their minds. And we all have voices, don't we? I mean, it could be anything in life. You might want to start off a new venture, and you get all these voices in your mind, but you don't know anything about that. You've never done that in your life. What happens if it goes wrong? You don't have any idea. You've not done that before. Where do you start? And it goes on and on and on. And all these voices in your mind kind of tell you one way or another. So like I say, you need to quieten the mind sometimes, right? And just go with, sometimes it's just good to go with your intuition, right? And just get on with it. Next one. The next shot is the only one that counts. So, things, can go wrong in life, right? Anyone feel that things go wrong? Yeah, generally? And then there's sometimes like a snowball effect. When the first thing goes wrong, it leads to another thing, it leads to another thing, and it leads to another thing. And ultimately, it leads us to what, Tim? Suffering. Yeah, because that's what Tim tells us, right? Okay? Life is about suffering, right? Okay? So, like I say, it could start with a simple argument, right? At breakfast, right? And then you take that to work, and then it starts off badly on one foot, and then you take it out on somewhere else, and our moments are kind of connected, right? But actually, if you really, like say, if you have a bad experience, that can affect your mental state. So same, on a golf course, if things start badly, you need to be able to take those moments apart and separate them, right? And not let it affect you, right? For your next shot. My uncle, he used to play golf, and he was an amateur. He was a very good amateur. And actually, he played in a pro-am at one point, which is like professional amateur kind of competition. And he was on the first tee somewhere. And of course, it's different from your local golf course. He was a really good golfer. And he lined up his drive on this first tee, and he was like playing with a professional, and suddenly all these photographers and camera people are down each side and the fairway, and he's just thinking, and it's like a bit like the rabbit in the headlights. And he lined up his shot, and it went about 20 yards into the first cameraman's lens and just smashed it. And it's like, where do you start, from there? But actually you need to separate it, right? And it's like, okay, that's finished, right? I can't let that shot affect my next shot. And you just have to reset, right? So some of the best golfers, they can have the worst shot ever, right? They do sometimes. But then they don't let it affect their next shot. They separate it, right? And same in life, we need to develop the same technique. In life, things will knock us off balance. Things will pop up. Things will kind of like, crop up, but we need to kind of reset, and so that it doesn't, knock us off balance. So there's a saying that the past is the past. You can't change the past. It's happened. But the present is the present. So don't dwell too much on the past, because you can't change it. But you can change the future by focusing on the task at hand. A few more. Every shot pleases somebody, right? So of course, you can get joy when you hit that perfect shot that you imagined, right? Sometimes you play in golf with a partner, and you're against another team, right? Another pair. And so when they play, sometimes you alternate, or sometimes you play your own ball, but you can get immense joy from also your partner's shot. Because in one sense, you're joined with them, right? You're joined at the hip and you're united. You're a team. So you can get joy out of like your past partner's shot. And when they hit that perfect shot that you kind of maybe both talked about, and you feel this kind of complete, unified, fulfillment, intent, and accomplishment. And Father once said, unity is the measure of your love. Unity is the measure of your love. So if you're really united with somebody in heart, there's actually no separation between you, right? So you feel other people's joy as they feel it, right? Because you're connected to them, and there's this connection. So sometimes we can feel as much joy and happiness for somebody else because we're one with them in heart or in spirit. Generally, that's our children, right? So when you see your children and they accomplish something or they achieve something, you feel immense joy and accomplishment or happiness, and you're proud, right, of your children's accomplishments. But actually, if you could create that bond of heart, or similar bond of heart with like brothers and sisters, right, then you would feel the same joy and happiness at their achievements or anything else. So yeah, we need to create that bond of heart. But also, on another level, when I say every shot pleases somebody, sometimes your opponent can do a really bad shot, right? And it might go into the water. And you don't go, yeah, like that, because it's kind of not that kind of game. But you smile internally and think, yeah, that's good, And that can also bring you quite a lot of joy. Don't give up until the last minute, right? There's a saying, it ain't over till the fat lady sings, right? Where does that saying come from? Anybody? Huh? Nope. It ain't over till the fat lady sings. You know what it means, right? But where does it come from? It comes from baseball, right? And at the end of the game, they used to have a lady. I don't know whether she was fat or not, but anyway, obviously she was, because that's where the saying comes from, right? She's American, maybe she's overweight. I don't know, right? Okay. I'm not saying nothing, right? Okay. But anyway, they used to have this lady come on at the end, and she would sing the national anthem, right? Because the game had finished, right? And then at that point, you ain't got any chance over. So, but until the fat lady sings, it's not over, right? There's still a chance. It doesn't matter how bad it looks, but there's still a chance. Who can think of some amazing comebacks in sporting history that you would think they ain't got a cat's hell and hope chance, but they come back. Anyone think of that? Yeah.
Anyways, just recent in the World Cup, Cameroon obviously got out of the World Cup, but in the last match, they beat Brazil when they were being led 2-1 to score, and in the last 5 minutes or so, they scored 2 goals to beat Brazil.
Yeah, like that. Okay. Anyone else got an example for me? Yeah. Okay.
Ashes a couple of years ago when
We can hear him. We can hear him.
the Ashes test a few years ago,
Right.
when England were almost bowled out and they had about 200 runs to get, and then the last 2 came together with Stokes.
Yes.
And they won.
Right.
They won the game.
So if you follow any sport, it doesn't matter what it is, it's littered with comebacks. So just a couple, like, anyone support Liverpool here? Right, okay. So in 2005, in the Champions League final, they were 3-0 down at half-time. And then they scored 3 second-half goals in about 6 minutes, right? And then it went to penalties, and then they won. And then there's Manchester United. Yeah. Unfortunately, I have to mention them. Anyway, they were losing 1-0, right? With Solskjaer and, what was it, Teddy Sheringham, right? And Steph Blatter came down the lift to kind of get ready to give the cup to the opposite team. And as he was on his way down in the lift, they scored, right? And then it was 1-1. So when he got down, he thought, oh, there's extra time. So he got back in the lift to go back up again. And when he got to the top, and they scored again. So then he had to come back down again and present the team to the other trophy. So he missed the 2 goals, right? So, yeah. Oh, we need the microphone because apparently it's online. Wait, Margaret, because it's...
When I was young, spiritually, I was in Nigeria, and they told me when we were doing fundraising, it hasn't finished until the set time, like spiritually. You don't give up. And I said, all right then. I didn't understand, but I wanted to try it. So we were not getting anywhere with one young boy, a young man, and we're not getting anywhere. And last minute, somebody bought everything we had. Right. I said, oh, the principle is correct. Like I was very young, and I'm thinking, yes, this is something we have to think about. It's not finished till it's finished.
That's right. So I'm sure also, on a spiritual level, we've all had similar experiences, whether it's fundraising or whatever. And actually on another level of that, golf is like a game of redemption, right? And one day you can go out and it goes wrong. It does go wrong from start to finish, and it can be just terrible. And you think, I'm going to throw those clubs in the cupboard. I'm never going to use them again. I'd break them over my knee. That's it. I'm just, completely frustrated. But actually, the next time you go out, and it can be completely different. So, like say, it's a golf. It's about redemption, and life's also about redemption, right? So, no matter how badly things are going wrong, right, and sometimes it just, you don't think you can see. You can't, there's no way to see a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Sometimes it's that bad. But actually, like say, it doesn't matter how much you're suffering and how much pain you're in, God is still there. It's a bit like that song, I have hope, right? God is still there, right? And actually, if you keep going, right, you can come through. You can change things around, and ultimately, everything can be redeemed. Accept your reality. Anyone like reading here? Books? Some people don't know what they are these days, right? Okay. I mean, it will be a day when you say, who likes reading books? And they go, what's that? Right? Anyway, I'm reading a book. I like reading books, but I get into them too much, and it's dangerous sometimes. But I'm reading this book called the Thursday Murder Mystery Club. Anyone heard that? Okay, anyway, it's by Richard Osman, and he's a very clever guy, and he's about these 4 people in a retirement home, and they solve murders, and actually it's quite interesting that their relationship and their age in their life and, you know, what they talk about. Anyway, one of the things that they were talking, actually I started reading it because my dad was reading it, and he was saying, oh, it was good, and then I thought, oh, it's maybe something, if I read it, then we can talk about it together, and, you know. So anyway, one part they're talking about, and they're saying, like, life is like going down this corridor. And as you go down the corridor of life, certain doors close behind you. And once that door closes, it doesn't open again. So I was on the golf course the other day with Ashley, and there was the green was about 300 yards away, it was downhill, and he was going, in my youth, I could drive that green 300 yards, right? And I'm like, Ashley, that door is long since closed. You know, the 250-yard door has long since closed. You know, you're hovering on the 200-yard door, right? But, you know, like I say, once that door closes, it doesn't open again. I accept, you know, now that the father's race at family camp, that door, it's closed. It never opening again. For some people, Franklin, it was never open. So, yeah, anyway, so you have, as you grow older, you know, you have to accept you can't do things as you once did them, and you have to adjust to your changing reality. And you think in golf, oh, yeah, I used to be able to hit the club this far, and it used to go, it doesn't these days, right? And you need to use like a lower club. And then in sports too, right? I mean, you have to give up certain sports at certain level, you know? I mean, the first one I gave up was rugby. And it's like, yeah, you know, I can't do this anymore, you know? It's too painful, right? And I'm getting old. Although I do know someone that still plays full contact rugby at my age. There are people out there that do it. But then, you know, in lockdown, we were playing football every Saturday, Sunday in Richmond Park, right? And then I was thinking, you know, I don't know, maybe that door's closed, you know? It's kind of closing, you know, slowly. I'm not sure, you know? And tennis, you know, that's another one. You can kind of keep going with it a bit longer. But actually, golf is something that you can keep going with, right? Even my dad, he's like 90, and he still plays golf. He only hits it about 100 yards, right? He never loses the ball because he doesn't go far enough to lose it. But he still gets enjoyment out of it, and he has to accept his reality, you know? So I was talking, oh, I shot 90 the other day, and he was like, I used to be really upset when I shot over 80. And it made me think a bit, but then I was like, yeah, but that's not your reality anymore, is it? You know, so, and you know, I have a saying that there's the armchair will get you. Anyone know what the armchair will get you is? Nigel, what's the armchair will get you? Right, okay, well, basically, yeah, is when you retire, you know, some people, that's where they end up, is in the armchair, right? And they sit there all day watching TV. But your body is like a machine, right? It's a well-oiled machine. And if you don't keep it moving, it will seize up, right? It's just natural. It's the law of physics. So you need to kind of, maybe it's going out for walks, maybe it's swimming, maybe it's like on a mental level, you play bridge or Sudoku or something, but you have to find something to get you out of the armchair, right? Get you up and doing something. Otherwise, it will get you, right? You see some people, when they retire, they go downhill very quickly, right? Because the armchair has got them. And on the same level, you can't live in the past or dwell on your past glories. You can remember them, it's nice, right? But then, like I say, you have to accept where you are at this time in life. I have to accept somehow I'm not 21 anymore, right? Okay, as I was reminded, you know, on the bus the other day, right? Okay, so accept your reality, but adapt to your reality, right? There's still a lot out there in life that you can do that you can get enjoyment from. Last one. So circle of influence. Benji, is he here? Oh, right, okay. So anyway, I gave him this book called from Michael Johnson, and it was about, one chapter in it talks about circle of influence. Anyone explain what circle of influence is? Very briefly. Okay, so when you're out on the golf course or whatever you're doing, there are certain things you cannot influence. You cannot influence the weather. You cannot influence the bunkers, right? You cannot influence the topography of the course, whether they're quick or they're, slow. You cannot, you can't change that. That's how it is. That's the reality. What you can change is what you do. So your stance, your swing, your approach and your technique and everything like that. And the same, like, if I look at politics sometimes. Anyone interested in politics? Right, okay, a little bit, okay? There are certain things maybe I don't like, or I would like to see changed. But I accept, actually, that's not in my circle of influence. There's nothing I can do to change that, right? Because I don't meet with those people on a day-to-day life, and therefore I can't influence it. Same within this movement. Maybe there's something I don't like within this movement, but then maybe it could be in America, it could be in Europe or whatever, but maybe they're not in my circle of influence, so why worry about it on some level? Because it's outside my circle of influence. What can I focus on? Is I can focus on the level that I can influence, right? So what is my level of influence? It may be my community, it may be like my neighborhood, it may be like my brothers and sisters, my neighborhood and things like that. That is that's the reality, I'm not some, like high up in politics or whatever. So focus on what you can influence, right? Your circle of influence. Don't worry about the things you can't, because you can't change them. You might have an opinion about it, but you can't actually change it. So focus on your circle of influence, and actually that will probably have an effect on the thing anyway, in a roundabout way. And then last question, last one, and I'm not really going to talk about it, I'm just going to leave it with you. But would you rather win playing badly or play well and lose? Well, anyway, I'll leave it with you, right, okay? Anyway, please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for being here together with us as brothers and sisters here to celebrate this Sunday together with you. We pray that we can really, wherever we go in life, learn from our experiences and really kind of connect them in some way to you, but also to share, Father, with brothers and sisters so that actually together we can become better. Together we can come back to you, and together we can make the world a better place. We pray that you can really be with us now as we share some time in fellowship, and that as we go out throughout the week, we can really reach out to people, those that are going through their own challenges or their own difficulties and their own life paths, and we can be there for them. And if they fall down, we can help pick them up, and so that, we can continue on that journey together. I pray that you can be with us now, and I offer report this prayer in my name, Simon Roselli of a Blessed Central family. Adieu.